Welcome back to From Wounds to Wisdom. I'm your host, Barbie Moreno, and today's guest is Amanda Lee, a fierce survivor, advocate, and voice for those navigating life after domestic abuse. Amanda's story is one of terror, resilience, and transformation. From the night she was forced to flee her home with her children to rebuilding her life from the ashes, she's here to share what it really takes to survive, heal, and rise stronger than ever. This episode is raw, it's powerful, and it's a reminder that no matter how dark it gets, there's always a way forward.
And how I kind of got started with my writing career is I am a survivor of domestic violence. I was in an abusive marriage we were together for about 10 years. And, what I found after getting out of my marriage, I found that so many people around me, both men and women, had experienced some form of abuse, but nobody talks about it. There's so much embarrassment and shame. He threatened to burn our house down with myself and our two small children. And I focused more on, well, you remember how I kept you safe? Well, I'm going to do that. That there is the pot of gold at the rainbow at the end of the story.
This is From Wounds to Wisdom with Barbie Moreno. Real talk, deep healing, and stories that turn pain into power. Let's dive in. Welcome to From Wounds to Wisdom. This is your host, Barbie Moreno, and today I have the honor of having Amanda Lee in my studio and on the podcast. A little summary about Amanda is that she is a courageous survivor, advocate, and voice for those navigating the aftermath of domestic abuse. After enduring years of psychological torment and threats to her life, including her husband's terrifying threat to burn down their home with her children inside, Amanda found the strength to escape and rebuild her life from ashes. In this powerful episode, Amanda shares the raw truth of what it means to survive domestic violence, protect your children in the face of unimaginable fear, and reclaim your voice after being silenced. Her story is one of pain, fierce resilience, and unwavering determination to heal, not just for herself, but for her family and others who feel trapped in the shadows. Today, Amanda is using her story to raise awareness, break cycles of silence, and empower others to recognize the signs of abuse and believe in the possibility of life beyond survival. This conversation is a testament to the human spirit's ability to rise, even from the deepest wounds. Welcome, Amanda.
Thank you for having me.
Loved talking with you before our podcast and just learning a little bit about you. But can you, I summarized, right? But we can't summarize. Thank you. But we can't summarize that experience. That is something I can't even imagine going through. So just give us give us your story. Tell us what happened. And then we'll go from there.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you again for having me. So my story and how I kind of got started with my writing career is I am a survivor of domestic violence. I was in an abusive marriage we were together for about 10 years. And, what I found after getting out of my marriage, which I'll get to in a minute, I found that so many people around me, both men and women, had experienced some form of abuse, but nobody talks about it. There's so much embarrassment and shame. And I found through using my voice that there are people that have heard my story or picked up my book, and it's given them courage to see themselves in my story and to leave and to know that at the end of the day, they're going to be okay. My story, my hand was forced one night on August 3rd, 2019 at 8:59 p.m. My then husband and I were fighting, and Cliff Notes version, it was a long fight, but he threatened to burn our house down with myself and our two small children. We had a 5 and a 3-year-old at the time, and went as far as got a gas can and a lighter. And I had to peel my children out of their beds with, their little lovey stuffies that they had at the time. And we fled to my neighbor's house, who happened to be a police officer. Police got involved. I spent half my life for 6 months at the courthouse because there was criminal hearings. And I thought that that would be like the worst night of my life. That would be it. And what no one talks about, along with just the subject, is that the scariest time for a domestic violence survivor is immediately after you leave, because then your abuser doesn't have that control over you. So I just experienced this huge traumatic event, and now I have somebody stalking me. He convinced our neighbors at the time to give him access to our camera so he could watch me coming and going. Yeah. And, through it all, as anyone who is a parent will understand, your children just went through a traumatic event. Your focus is on them. You want to make sure they're okay. I threw my kids in therapy. I got them. I knew I couldn't handle a dog, so we got 2 cats, which I instantly regretted. But I'm stuck with them for the next like 20 years. And you do everything and you kind of neglect yourselves. And in neglecting myself, I eventually hit a breaking point and realized I needed to get myself help. And I did all the things. And one of the things that really helped me, that I thought I would just be awful at, was writing. It was my creative output. And that kind of gives me full circle to my little intro, is that through my writing is where I use my voice to try and help others who are in similar situations.
So what type of writing do you do?
So I wrote a memoir of my story. It's called One of the Lucky Ones. It describes how I found myself in an abusive relationship and trying to get out, and what happens afterwards, and the power of, that there is the pot of gold at the rainbow at the end of the story. I've written a children's book, and that stemmed from the same event. My kids, like I said, they were 5 and 3. So they heard it. They have the trauma still of me running into their rooms and having to flee our house. And I just wanted something that was comforting to them for a child that had been through trauma. I didn't know what I was looking for, but I couldn't find it. And so I wrote a children's story. And it just is about a saying that I said over and over again to my son while we were going through it. And then I started a fiction series that's loosely based on a domestic violence detective that I worked with. And she was female and had experienced domestic violence herself.
I mean, I think that that's amazing, because so many times people, and I know you wrote a book for adults as well, but they don't focus on explaining it to the children, and it's very, very hard. How do you explain that to your children?
I mean, I didn't ever address like, well, why did he do this? Why did he say these things? I mean, I don't know. And I don't know what made him snap, or what that conscious of was, that it was okay to do the things he was doing. And I focused more on, well, you remember how I kept you safe? Well, I'm going to do that. And I tried to, especially with my son, because my daughter's very vocal. She told everybody that her dad had gone to jail and drank warm milk and had to go to her neighbor's house and they ate goldfish. But my son like really internalized it. So I tried to be like, okay, what do you think? What do you think you need? And as a 5-year-old, sometimes it was like, I just need a hug. Or can I stay up a little later? I'm like, no.
You're like, you still can't milk it.
Can I sleep in your room tonight? Okay. But one of the most poignant ones was he asked for a fire extinguisher. He was like, can I have one in my room?
Wow.
And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, you want to tell me why? He's like, just in case. So I found a little toy fire extinguisher. At the time he had no idea if it was real or not. And we kept it in his room. I am fortunate that one of my very dear friends, her husband is a firefighter at one of the local fire stations. And he offered to give my kids a tour, and they did a tour. They went on the fire truck and he talked to them. He was like, this is the route I would take if I had to come to your house. Look, I would be at your house within 5 minutes. So don't you worry.
Do you know the history behind your ex's like childhood or life that might have, triggered some of these very explosive episodes?
Yeah, well, he, after everything happened, was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. So that definitely contributed to the mood elevations that I experienced through our marriage. But it's a well-known fact in the family that his father has anger issues. How abusive he's been to his mother, I don't know. But I did witness a lot of like him putting her down or him trying to tell her what to do. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, do you know if any of that anger was taken out on your ex?
It was as a child, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Because I know this is controversial, but bipolar, they often will say there's two different opinions on it.
Mhm.
One opinion is that it's a medical thing that, that the brain has. It's different ways of dealing with things, and that, you need medication so that it can balance all of that serotonin, dopamine, all of those different things, right? And then the other view on it is that it's also environmental. So
Mhm.
people create their mind creates that whole manic and then depressive, manic and depressant so that they can survive, right?
Mhm.
And so you'll find most bipolar people have lived in some sort of an abusive past because that's
Mhm.
how their brain survived, right?
Yeah, and I would agree with that because I think some of the things that happened to him as his in his childhood created a version of him that had very, very low self-esteem. And a lot of the abuse stemmed from
Yeah.
trying to destroy my self-esteem as a form of control so that I wouldn't leave.
Yeah. What have you done that in turn? And people always say don't blame the victim. I never believe in blaming the victim, but I believe that we all choose people for a reason. And
Mhm.
so have you done that internal work to like, why would I pick this person?
Yeah, I have. And I think there's a couple reasons. And the main one, and it's hard to admit, that I was desperate to get married and have children. I had been a bridesmaid 9 times by the time I met my ex-husband, and I was done. I was like, okay, like I'm ready. I want to get married. And, I think the next serious boyfriend that I had, no matter who it was, I was going to be like, all right, this is it. I'm marrying this person. And to admit that I had that desperate feeling is very hard. I pride myself on being independent and intelligent, and I'm from Philadelphia. Like, I don't take anybody's crap. And then I found myself in this abusive situation that I don't know that I fully understood what was happening immediately.
I think also like that's very normal for women. It's like
Mhm.
men don't like have this like, oh, if I don't like get married and have children by a certain period of time, like,
Yeah.
eggs aren't going to be good and that like their
Yeah.
sperms last until they die, right? There's
Yeah.
kind of
Right.
kids at 80.
Yeah.
Whereas women, like one, there's like a stigma if you're not married by a certain age, right? And
Mhm.
then it's internalized as like, what's wrong with me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why am I a bridesmaid 9 times but never the bride?
Yeah, I mean, I had a series of serious boyfriends, like years, like dated them for years. And, and I did feel like the stigma of, okay, well, Amanda's amazing. Like, why aren't you married?
Yeah.
Don't you want to have kids? It's like, well, yeah, I desperately want to have children.
Right. And sometimes we just pick whoever it is, we settle.
Yeah, I did. I 100% was settling. I mean, don't get me wrong. I did love him.
Yeah.
But it also was the moment in my life where I decided, like, I'm done. I want to get married.
Yeah, definitely. And so is he currently in prison?
No, he's not.
So that's scary.
Yeah, no, he didn't get anything. He pled no contest. And they told me that because the threats were not like there was no concrete evidence, it was he said, she said, and he was denying it. And because I had never called before, that they really didn't have a lot to go on. He did throw a glass of water on me, which was considered assault. So he did, I think there was something on his record for 7 years and then he can get it removed, but that was it. And I remember, I remember sitting in the courtroom before and meeting with the district attorney and the detective that responded that night and my attorney. And they told me this. And the district attorney said it so fast. He's like, all right, so any questions, but we'll give you a protective order. I'm like, let me get this straight because I was scared because I never called before. You're going to give me a piece of paper. Like that's it to protect myself.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, this really is the best scenario because that way you can get child support. I'm like, I don't care about the money right now. I care about my safety. I'm scared. And, I don't ever like to disparage the police because what they did for me that night in August, like I will be eternally grateful, but I called them multiple times after the fact about the stalking, about the cameras, and I got nowhere. I even got a police officer on the phone one time. He refused to come to the house. I guess it was a waste of his time. And he was like, well, if you ever feel scared, like you need to have a safe person to call. That way you can have a safe word so that they know if something's wrong, they can call us. I'm like, let me get this straight. You're concerned enough to tell me to have a safe word with someone that is close to me, but not concerned enough to come out and check that doesn't make sense.
And through your talking to people and telling your story, have you found that it's common that the reason why women don't report domestic violence is because it's almost always a he said, she said, even when there's physical wounds, right? He can
Yeah.
say, oh, she tripped, she fell, she blah, 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 blah. And
Yeah.
oftentimes it's very hard to prove unless you have video footage of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And, then there's the fear. Okay. So it's he said, she said, he's going to get off. What's he going to do to me because I just called the cops?
The retaliation. Yeah.
Yeah. And the protective order sounds great, but unless he's willing to follow it, like,
Right.
what's it going to do?
Well, and when you have somebody who already violates those boundaries, they don't care about a protective order. Like they're like, again, they've already learned it's a he said, she said thing, right? So even if there's a protective order, it's like, okay, well, like she said I came, but you do have proof, right? She said I threatened her, but do you have proof?
Yeah, exactly.
And then I think even when you do have proof, it's very hard.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I was amazed that they didn't like it. It never occurred to me that someone wouldn't believe me. Like it just never occurred to me. Like, why would I make this up?
Right.
Why would I pull my small children out of bed and run?
Right.
Like, why? But
basically they're saying you're crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. And there were people in our lives, not many, that my ex convinced that it was all me. And I'm like, I don't understand this.
Well, and sometimes it'll even, we talked about the gaslighting when I first talked to you. Like,
Yeah.
sometimes they will convince you that it's you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm a pathological liar.
So
pardon him. Yeah. I'm a pathological liar. And I've been gaslighting him, since the day we met. That was when we were going through our custody for the divorce. That was in his psychological report. I asked to get him tested to see how mentally sound he was. And we both had to talk to the psychiatrist. And that was his response.
Is that it was you?
It was me. This was all me. I did more damage to our children than he did.
It's funny, like not funny, but ironic. Like if you ever talk to like a serial killer, they always blame like the victim, right? Well, she looked and talked like my mom. Like it's totally her fault. Like she looked and talked like my mom. And so I had to kill her, like they're just their brains, when they're in this space, they just don't work right.
No. Yeah. No, he can't. And I'm sure it's some sort of defense mechanism. Like he's got to blame me because he can't live with his actual choices in life.
Or doesn't even see them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I almost guarantee you he believes everything he's saying. He has conviction of that. So what is it like now? I mean, he's not in prison.
No, it's actually unbelievable. And you're going to be shocked, but we're actually really great co-parents now.
Oh.
When he was diagnosed with bipolar and the threat of jail time, he went and did everything he needed to do. He went and got therapy. He saw anger management. He got on medication. If someone suggested it, he did it, to his credit. And I did a lot of work too. I think we had talked before. I did everything anyone suggested. Once I realized that, I needed to get myself help and I really wasn't okay. I mean, I did therapy. Someone suggested energy healing. I was like, okay, sign me up. Yeah. And honestly, the energy healing was one of the best things I ever did. It really, really helped. I got into meditation and yoga, and anyone who knows anyone from Philadelphia, those aren't our people. That's not how we operate. And, we saw, it was court mandated. We saw, I forget what her exact title was, but it was basically someone to help us co-parent. And through that, we both realized that we probably could do this if we just kept it about the kids. So it's taken years, but we are in a place where we can effectively co-parent with our children. That's not to say that there aren't moments, and when we first did our custody, it was a gradual workup. He had supervised visits. Then it was just a couple hours on a Saturday. Then it's worked up to now he has them overnight, a few days a week. But it's taken all 5.5 years to get us to this healthy point for our children.
But so rare.
It's incredibly rare. And, I'm remarried now, and the joke is always like, who would have thought he'd be the most unproblematic ex? Like, who would have thought that this would be the healthier co-parent relationship?
Well, it's interesting because like one, it shows one thing I teach in like my course and what I do is that neuroplasticity, right? So we can heal, we can change these things through repetitive action. You have to put the work in, right? But we can heal them, which is amazing because children, their brains are so like, they have so much plasticity in their brains that those events, while they still happened, if he's doing the work and you're doing the work, it's probably not going to carry over into their life like, like
No.
it may have if you guys didn't do all of that work.
It was not easy. And I mean, there are times it's still not easy. And I can see like the hesitation with my kids. Like if something happens and I'm like, all right, well, I'm gonna talk to your dad. Please don't call him. Please don't call him. He's going to be mad. Okay. Well, and then I just always go back to, all right, well, he can be mad, but I will be the one who deals with him. You do not need to deal with him.
How did your parents respond to hearing what happened to you?
Oh, I thought they were going to kill him.
Yeah, I would imagine.
I mean, my siblings too. And I knew that once I told my family and my close friends that there would be no going back. Like even if I said, no, I wanted to work it out, I'm pretty sure they would have locked me in the basement and been like, no, this is no. So my parents were devastated that this had been happening, that I hadn't told them. And I had to work through it with my mom because she took it very personally. She took it as I didn't trust her enough to tell her this was going on. And I'm like, that's not what this was. This was, if I speak it out loud, that makes it true that this is actually happening. And I kind of was in like almost like a coma for years, just surviving. I had two very small children, very close in age. They're 17 months apart, and I was being abused. So I was just in that mentality of, I just got to get through this. I just one day at a time. And when I woke up and realized, holy F, this is like, I am in an abusive marriage. I didn't know how to safely get out. My fear had always been that if I wasn't there, how could I protect my kids? My kids are so little at the moment. How am I going to protect them?
And I think that that's a big thing because the court system generally doesn't work.
Yeah.
And you then, I think this is why a lot of women don't leave. You then have to turn your children over for visitation because oftentimes they don't even get like the tiered visitation like you got.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They just literally have to turn their children over to this person that they know is capable of all of these things, and they can't control the environment anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that that's why a lot of women stay because at least when they're there, they can control something. And then when you separate and you don't have a control of that, what happens? That's frightening. I can't even imagine.
Yeah. I mean, I very clearly remember the first time he had them overnight. I don't think I slept at all. And I tried really hard not to grill the kids when they came back, but I 100% did. I like sat them on the couch and like, tell me everything.
Right. Yeah. Is there anything that we need to talk about? Do we need to go to therapy?
What happened? Well, what did you do at 7:00? And then what happened at 8?
Yeah. Yeah. And I would imagine over time that kind of settled down.
It has. And I have a very close relationship with my two kids. And if something happens, I'm confident if anything happened that made them uncomfortable, that they would tell me.
You would think that, but then you didn't tell your mom.
This is true. But I do think that they would
treat it differently.
Yeah.
And I mean, I would imagine as well. It's just that one thing where like it comes from a mother that could you imagine your child keeping something like that from you? It'd be heartbreaking.
Yeah. And I get it. And I understand why my mom had that reaction. And honestly, it like broke my heart that she thought that it was about our relationship and me not being able to tell her. And I was like, it has nothing to do with you and everything to do with, I couldn't say it out loud.
Yeah. You just couldn't acknowledge it.
Yeah.
How have you turned that wound into wisdom today?
Well, I've learned a lot about myself in the past 5 years through this healing journey. And, the wisdom that I bring, I hope is my story, and sharing my story through my writing, through podcast interviews like this to help other domestic violence victims out there if not just wake up and realize what's happening, but understand that, no one ever regrets leaving.
Right.
No one ever does. And it is better when you do leave. And my co-parent relationship with my ex is extraordinary. That doesn't always happen, rarely happens. But my life, regardless of that, is amazing now. And I wouldn't have the beautiful life I have now if I didn't make the choice to leave in that moment.
One last question. You are a teacher, correct?
I am. Mm-hmm.
Is it sixth grade?
Sixth grade, yeah.
Because of your experiences, do you think you're now more aware to look for the children who could possibly be in abusive situations?
Yes, I do. And I think I'm much more empathetic to the children who have experienced domestic violence in their lives. I mean, after COVID, there was one year I had like 5 kids who had protective orders.
Wow.
with parents. And I think I've helped my coworkers as well when they're like, oh, this person's acting up and they're doing this. Okay, well, like, do you know what's happening at home? Like, this is how trauma is going to present in children.
That's a gift.
Thank you. I think so. I think I've probably helped a few.
What's the name of your book?
It's called One of the Lucky Ones.
One of the Lucky Ones. And is it on Amazon if somebody wanted to read it?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And then your children's books?
My children's book is called Always, and that's also on Amazon. And then my fiction book series, there's 2 books in the series. The first one is called Blue Coat, a Brooke Hill novel. And the second one that just came out in June is called Concealment.
Love that. Well, I hope that people, take the message that you've given them. And if there's anybody in that situation, or they know somebody in that situation, or maybe their parents were in that situation, they can take the information that you've given and know that there is a way out, and that, life is better on the other side usually.
Yeah,
definitely. And I love the fact that you guys actually became good co-parents, because that's often not the story that we hear. And I mean, you both did the work, and that's also rare.
Yeah, we did. And I would say part of it was the fact that I am a teacher, and I have seen hotly contested parents who are divorced, going through a divorce, and the effects they have it on their children. And I couldn't put my kids through more trauma than they already had been through.
Yeah, that's a testament to your strength.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you for coming on the show. I look forward to people hearing your story, and I'm sure you will make a difference with this podcast, the ones that you go on, and the books that you've written.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Grateful for you.
Thank you.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, thanks.
If this story spoke to you, let's keep the healing going. Visit barbiemoreno.com for my online course, Awakening Your Worth and Healing Energy sessions, one-on-one coaching, and your free healing guide. Your next step is waiting.